Hello. Hello, welcome to day 7 of Learn MYOB in 7 days. Now this chapter is called the wrap, but essentially we go through various areas that we haven't had chance to cover so far and end of period procedures. So lots of interesting areas that I'm sure you'll find useful. Let me just swap my screens over. Okay, so now you should be able to see MYOB, and the first screen that I want to talk to you about is the command panel. So the command panel, let me grab my pen. The command panel is down here, and it sits beneath the flowchart, as you can see, and it gives you access to various data mining and analytical tools. You can see the to-do list, find transactions, reports, and business insights there. Notice that each button is split in two. Can you see that line there, just there? So interestingly enough, it does actually give you sort of slightly different options. So if I click on it, see I can click there, or I can actually click on the drop down arrow and it gives me options to choose from. So it's good to know what's going on there. So now you have some data in your MYOB file. We can go through and explore these particular areas. So the first option is our to-do list, which allows you to view upcoming tasks and things that you need to do in MYOB. Now you can set MYOB up so that when you actually turn MYOB on in the morning, or you open it up in the morning, your to-do list pops up instantly reminding you what to do. So let's have a click on it. I typically suggest have a look at your to-do list every Monday morning, and you work through the tabs across the top. So I have here accounts receivable, and you can see here my current accounts receivable, overdue date, invoice number, due date, balance due. And I can actually from here create a letter and send that to them. The next tab along is my accounts payable tab, and this is people whom I owe money to and the due date that I owe them and how much is due, and I can tick here and I can actually go through and pay my bills. I pop here, the third tab along is my reoccurring transactions, and so I can have all of my reoccurring transactions sitting here and I can actually work on them or record them straight from this opportunity. Here I have my reoccurring sales, and this is one I actually use quite a lot, even though we don't have any listed here. So I have a client who regularly bills about 70 people, and we will just tick this option and that will process all those sales in one go. Likewise, we have reoccurring purchases here. I very rarely see expiring discounts used, but if you have recorded that you are being offered a discount, this is where you can note that it's still available to you. Here is where I have a sales order listed and would probably prompt me to chase people up to confirm that it's actually going through to be an invoice and that I can actually record it. Here is a listing of purchase orders, and I do have a few purchase orders there, and you can see that I can go through and convert them to bills. My stock alert area, and I do have stock alerts popped up here. This allows me to order, build, and I can actually automatically, it will, based on the information I put in that inventory area, it will allow me to create a purchase order, which will then in turn allow me to purchase more of this particular stock. So that's quite useful. And as I've been going through the exercise, you'll see contact alert, and I have 2 contact alerts there, and I can actually click on them. And it tells me there was a contact log. She was away in business in Cairns, and that's when it told me to recontact her. And I'll go record, and actually, and then I'll go click on that, and we'll remove that from that area. Okay, so I've checked that I've done that particular one. So what I'll also do is I'll just show you, I'm going to pop back one step and just show you the stock alert tab. So this stock alert tab here, we're just going to go through the exercise. Tick here. We have 0 on hand, 0 ordered, 0 committed. We have the opportunity to build them. So I'm going to click the order build button, and it comes up and asks me a date, and I'm going to put in 30th of the 11th, and I'm still running in 2011, and I have the opportunity to order them, and I'm going to click on Order, click OK, and I'm now going to click my Close button, go to my Purchases area, click on my purchase order, and I should see the orders here under 2011. Remember, I put the date 30th of the 11th there. 30th of the 11th, and let's see if this is it. That's come through as 30th of the 11th. And there it is. That order was automatically created, so I didn't need to do anything there. It just automatically created based on, and I'll remind you, based on the defaults I put in here. So that's sensational. Okay, so I'm going to click OK there. Click OK there. Click Close. And the next thing I want to look at is my Find Transactions area. So I spend a lot of time in here looking for various things. And if you're particularly investigating an issue, such as a bank reconciliation won't balance, this is the area that I look at. So I click on Find Transactions. And look, typically, this is what I typically do. I identify what information I actually know about what I'm looking for. So I may know the amount, I may know the date, I may know the person, I may know the memo, and then I'll look for it. So I will typically go Account, and then I'll pop over here to Advanced, and then I'll go, well, I know the amount is $50. Maybe I know the amount is $500. $500, and I'll put up the date range that I think it's happened in, and here where it says Search By, I will select Search All Accounts. So that is critical. All accounts there, put the amount from area here, and make sure you've got the date range that's relevant to what you're looking for. And remember, you may have put something in on the wrong date range. That's why I've got it open quite wide. And I'll click OK on that. And this has come back with a list of all transactions that are of $500. That may be what I'm actually looking for. And I'm going to click. But you can see I can go to all of these areas, and there's lots of different options for me to look at. Okay, so work out what you know and then come in here and search for it. Clicking on Close. I then have down here reports. I'll highlight, you perhaps have already noticed, I've got reports here. I also have reports here. Both pretty much the same reports here. And I'm going to click on Reports. And this has opened up the reports area. We have looked at this reports area before, but what I want to do is show you some information. So I'm just going to go click on the Accounts tab, and then click on Trial Balance down here. Or where did I click on Accounts and Trial Balance? So I went Accounts, Accounts, Trial Balance. And when you get this window, I'm just going to maximize that screen. So that's as big as it's going to go for me. So what I'm going to do is down the bottom here, you have your selection filters. So you can see here, I can put my initial filters in there. So I can do it as of a particular date, and then as of a particular financial year, whatever's relevant. I could at this stage click Display, or I can opt for Advanced Customization options. So I'm going to click on Advanced. And in fact, it opens it up without running it. So let's maximize that. And I have various options here. So again, I had repeated of that. I can display all transactions or select particular transactions. I can include zero balances. I can round to whole dollars. I don't have the options there, so I'm going to just click Run Report. And you can see that some of those options have come up there. I am going to look at Print Preview. Print Preview gives me options for changing the margin, changing the orientation, changing the size as relevant. You have the opportunity here to shrink it down, look at it 1 page, 2 page, or page width, etc. And on this third tab, you have insert and modify options. So you can add or remove particular fields. So if I actually remove all of that, I'll just leave the report name there and click OK. That actually instantly happened. I could add a picture, I could add a text box. If I click on that, if that was relevant. Text box, you can see I can change the different types of fonts available in there, and height, etc. The other one along here is show and hide. This is really important. This actually says available columns, so I could actually click on that and show that. And this actually shows me the account numbers coming up there. I can put in a watermark, so that comes across the data. And I can change the page color. So if I actually wanted to customize it my own particular branding, I could do that if that so pleased me. So there's various ways you can customize that report and filter it. I will add, I'm just going to close down on that report. Let's click on there. I'm going to exit on that report. So I could export it to PDF, to Excel, to CSV, comma separated values, or various different formats. I could save it. I could send it to someone in that format. I could print the document, or as I'm going to do is exit. What I would also like to do is show you, let's see, another report. I'm going to click on sales, and I'll just click on a customer one. The reason I want to show you this is that you actually have, if I look at this, there's no information to display. Maybe we've not got the right dates up there. 0. Will that give me more information? Yes. What I want to show you is under Insert, Modify, the Show Hide column. So I just want to stress that the Show Hide column can be really useful. So let's have a look at that. We'll go through. We can show. And so that just came up there. Tax ID, show. Salesperson, show. Referral source. So I can actually add all of these things in, and that actually adds in quite nicely. So I'm going to cancel from there and click File, Exit. So sometimes you want the information, come in here and customize it to actually get the information. Click Close. And the next tab along is Business Insights. So the Business Insights is a relatively new feature, so you may not have seen it before if you've been using MYOB for a long time. It provides interactive tables and graphs with an option for further analysis. So let's have a look at it. You can see that it's broken down into 4 graphs here. Over on the top left-hand side, we've got profitability details, and we can see income and expenses for the particular financial year. We can see cumulative income and expenses for the year. We can see by item. Remember, we have inventory. We can see item profit margin. So this is really interesting, what the actual profit margin is and in percentages. And in this final one, we can see our top 10 spending activities. So wages is a big cost for us, and superannuation is another big cost for us. So this is a really useful area for seeing, just quickly identifying what is driving our business. And this is kind of known as a dashboard, and the CEO or the strategist of the company would be frequently looking at this area to understand what's going on. Clicking on the next tab, we have Customer Analysis, and you can quickly see here the customers who owe money, the top 10 customers by year-to-date value. So you could look here and go, well, these Fig Tree Gardens, they're a big customer of ours. We should send them a Christmas card. Aged receivables, you can see here who owes you money, and your customer sales history as well. Clicking on the third tab along, we have Supplier Analysis, and this identifies here the suppliers that you need to pay, the top 10 suppliers, who again, if you're buying a lot of stuff from someone, contact them and see if you can renegotiate cheaper prices with them. Down on the bottom left-hand side, we have age payables, and we also have supplier purchase history. Finally, we'll click on account details, and you can see here we have listings of the bank and credit card accounts and the current balances of them. So you would want that to be accurate representation. So you would need to be reconciling on a regular basis. We have here a list of our total assets, so this is everything that we've actually defined as an asset. And then on the right-hand side, we have our total liabilities and what we currently owe at the moment. Now, as I went through the different options, you can see the top here changed as well. So what I could access at the top changed. So you can do lots of little things from the dashboard. Now, if you're on an older version of MYOB, it wouldn't have looked like that for you. And it wouldn't have looked like that for you. You just simply have business insights down the bottom, and it actually said analysis down the bottom, and it was quite a useful area, but now it's looking quite different. So now when you started using MYOB, I hope that you were able to work on a data file that's set up correctly, because that would make your life much easier. So if you need to set up a data file from scratch, I strongly advise that you work through the whole book so you understand the basic processes like that we have done, and get an advisor in perhaps to just check that everything has been set up correctly. I recommend you get that in just to make sure that it's all in place. Now, the other thing I want to talk to you about is what to do in your end of period. So when you are coming up to an end of period, one of the things that you'll want to do is come over here to the Company Data Auditor, which is a really, really useful tool. If you click on the Company Data Auditor, you'll see that it is a wizard at the side, one of these things that we've worked through before, and it has these various steps that we're going to work through. So Company File Overview, Account Reconciliation, Transaction Review, and Tax Exception Review. So the first thing that we're going to work through is this page here. We can see we have the file name, the release version. Your release version will probably be different to mine, the location, the last backup date, the current financial year end, locked period, and payroll tax date. So here it says last backed up date, and I'm going to, right here while we're working on it, back up the data file. Before you can back up, you need to close all windows that are not related, so we'll click OK. And let's see. It wants me to close that window. And I can't see a way to. Okay, so to close down this window, you come up here to the cross and you click on the cross. And I was, let's see where I was in my Company Data Auditor, and I'm clicking on Backup. And this is where you want to back up, so that's fine. And we have to ask us to enter a password, but I'm not going to enter a password. I'm just going to click on Backup. And my file is now backed up, and it gives me the date that it's backed up on. And here I have locked period, so I'm going to click on locked period. And here it says security tab, locked period, disallow entries prior to, and if I click on that, oh, it's come up with that. Okay, so this has come up because we have received some items, so I'm not going to continue with that. That's where I would go and lock the actual period. I'm going to click OK. on that, and I could load the tax tables in there. Now I'm clicking on Next, and this is where I actually have the opportunity to reconcile my transactions, my account reconciliation, and I have the option to reconcile my accounts. So I can see that this has never been reconciled, but if I click on Reconcile Accounts, it directs me directly into the bank reconciliation area. And we looked at this in the Banking Command Center. So I would like to see everything reconciled to the current date of the end of the BAS period. And now I'm going to click on Next. And here is where I have my transaction review. And I'm going to run my transaction review from the full period. And what happens when I run this review is it highlights a question mark if it thinks there's an issue with the data, and it highlights a tick if it just thinks the data is okay. So the question mark doesn't mean something's wrong, it just means there perhaps is an issue. So I'm going to click on Display here, and this is perhaps come up because I haven't got the full date range happening there. The date range should have come up as 1st of the 11th, and that was a particular amount that's outstanding. Okay, so I would then go in and investigate that particular amount if I was concerned about it. So I'm going to click on Next, and I'm going to run the review again. And this is running a review on my tax exception report. And what it's doing is it's essentially going, okay, you put in this tax code, but it is different to the default tax code. Is there a problem? So I click on Display, and if I open this up, it's suggesting, okay, so for this particular account, the default GST code was GST, but the actual account entered was NT. So is that correct? And that particular one, that was an invoice, and that probably should have GST on it. And the date on that, so that probably should have GST on it. And we'll click OK on that. And click on Display. Has that report gone? If I run the report, that amount will now have disappeared. Then it's also highlighting that these particular accounts, I mustn't have put the default code on them as well. So I would go in and see where that default code is coming through on, and it must be coming through from the actual accounts that it's linked to. So if I click on here, buying detail says GST, selling detail says GST, and it may be my income or my inventory may be listed without GST on it. Let's have a look. I'll close down that. And if I close down that, accounts, account list, cost of sales, that all has GST on it. And then my income all has GST on it. So not necessarily identifying a reason why that's come through, but sometimes with the inventory it does come through. So don't stress out as long as you've checked everything that is relevant for you. So that was my transaction review. So you run it to see if the default GST matches the actual GST rates that you've put in there. And then we click on Next, and that was what that was for, sorry. And then we click Finish, and it asks you if you would like a summary report. So if you print out the summary report, it gives you a record of what you've actually been doing in the business. So I'm going to say no, I don't want to print that out at this stage. And what I would do is I check my company data auditor before I go and have a look at my BASLink. So here is my BASLink. If I click on my BASLink, this is the area that I go through and prepare my BAS. So I am going to first of all come up and identify that I have this financial year or the next financial year. I can include year-end adjustments. I have to pick the last date of the reporting period, so perhaps I'm going to pick December. And up here on this tiny little icon up here is where I put the BAS information in. Now on page 279 and 280 lists out all the different options in your activity statement. You are going to either need to get them from your accountant or from your BAS statement or your activity statement. So what we're going to do is we have it set up here. You can see goods and services tax is reporting quarterly on a cash accounting basis using option 1, and the calculation method is worksheet, and both of these options have been left unticked. With the PAYG option, we are going for quarterly, installment accounting basis of cash, and we'll select installment option 1, and we'll pay $500. If your business is new, it's unlikely you will have PAYG installments. Typically you have that after you've submitted your first BAS, your first financial statements for the year, and the tax office decides this is how much we're going to tax you on a regular basis on. And that's what it comes through, so you're kind of prepaying your tax. PAYG, we're going to select monthly, so this person pays their PAYG on a monthly basis. And we'll click OK. And we'll click Prepare Statement. And we'll click OK. And that Prepare Statement is coming up for us. And what has opened up is our BASLink. So if you have a copy of a BAS in front of you, it might look familiar to you. So you can see this looks like a typical BAS that you receive in the mail. Now the key to knowing that you've selected the right one is to come up here to the second page and see here it's got a letter on it. Make sure your letter matches. If it doesn't match, save, setup and exit, go back in, edit what we were doing, change it so it does match your statement. So I'm going to come here. Now remember, you need to make sure this meets your taxation requirements, but I'm just going to set up a general one. I'm going to highlight that this is the cash worksheet that this is the worksheet that we work on, and if we click on G1 or G1, either of those G1s, if we click on it, it brings up an information box about what should be included there. If I click on the cross arrow, if I click on the grey thing, set up, this is actually what I will set up here. So in this particular case, I'd come here and set up GST, FRE, and yes, FRE there, and then ITS, and yes, ITS there. So I click on various things to come up there, click OK, and that information, you can see that $920 flows through, you can see the $83 flows through, and it flows through on the report there. I will also highlight that you could see as I went into the setup, it opted and it actually has auto-filled in these options. So GST free, that's clicked to free there, and ITS, input tax sales, is clicked there as well. So going through that, let's see if I pop down a bit just for the sake so you have a bit more information. I'll click on this one, setup, and that will be CAP, but I've got no CAP there. And for non-capital, I'm going to click setup, GST, FRE. Okay, that window's just a bit too small there, and NRG. And I'm going to click OK there, and that's sensational. And I'm going to see how that information has flowed down through the report. I'm now going to pop over to the back sheet. So here is my back sheet. I'm going to click on my back sheet, and here it says total salary, wages and other payments, and you can click on W1 to see what that definition of that is. I'm going to click on setup and select all, click OK, And you can see there that that has totaled up there, and that includes annual leave pay, base hourly pay there as well. I'm going to click on this one, W2, click on Setup, and this is my PAYG withholding. So I'm reporting that, clicking on OK there, and that is the amount that I'm reporting. Now remember, this is where we put in earlier, PAYG installment amount of $500, and if I click down the bottom here, I have these amounts flowing through, and this is essentially telling me how much I owe the ATO. You will need to check that yours is correctly set up, so you'll need to speak to a BAS agent to make sure that what you have done here is correctly set up for your particular needs. So once we're happy with that BAS report, what I do is I come up here and I click on Reports, and I click on my exception report. My exception report pops up, and if I maximize this, this will tell me what hasn't been included. So I do not expect anything that NT to be included on the BAS report, so that's good. Again, NT is not included, that's good. Now if anything else was here, I would question it and query it. Is it correct or not? So I'm going to click Close from that. Now the other thing I do is I come down to the bottom and I click on this option down here, Transaction. Okay. I will view the error list, and what does it tell me? It tells me that 5A linked account is not selected. The ABN is invalid, so that's okay. That's just one I put in. The contact person hasn't been filled in, so if I click on that, I can put on here Sam Jones just as a dummy name. So you can see that's now entered out there. The document identification number is blank, so I could put that in there. And the time, if I click on that, it takes me right to the back sheet, and I can put in here that it's taken me, I don't know, you can say, how long has it taken you? 4 hours to complete that. And 5A, so let's go to this 5A. So this is here, this PAYG income tax installment, and what you would do is you would click on link, and it would be your income tax installment. You would either have a sitting there as a liability, so you'd have PAYG income tax installment liability sitting under your 2s, or you would come down to your 9s and you would have PAYG income tax installment to be paid. And we'll click OK on that. And I'm going to click on transaction again. No, I'm not going to view the error this time. I'm not going to select this option, so I'm saying no, and then I'm saying no again. And what this has actually given me is a spend money transaction. So I can then print this off and put this into my MYOB system. It doesn't automatically go. I have to manually put it in. It's spend money, so I could put it into purchases, so I record it at the correct date when it happens. So I could put it in now. It's an amount I owe to the ATO, and then when it happens, I owe them. So what I do is I allocate to PAYG, and I split out the allocation between GST collected and GST paid. I have here adjustments. I have this allocated to PAYG installment, as I said, and then I have this allocated to a BAS rounding account. So this amount here should never be too big. Okay, so I'm going to click Close on that, and I'm going to click Save Setup, and no, I'm not going to save it. What I want to do is highlight to you, I'm going to cancel that, highlight to you that you actually have two sorts of financial years in MYOB. If I click on File, you have the opportunity to close a year, and you can close a financial year. So typically here in Australia, a financial year runs from July through to June, but if you are associated with an overseas organisation or you're a community organisation, sometimes your year will run January through to December, or a different month range. Okay, so that may be different for you. If you have payroll, your payroll must run July through to June, July through to June. You cannot change that. And if you do payroll, you have to close off your payroll year for June before you can start paying people in the month of July. Otherwise, it won't work. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to close that. What we're going to do is we're going to work through and reconcile an account from page 289. So I'm going to click on my company data auditor, and I'm going to click on account transactions, and from here, there is my account. I'm going to click on reconcile account. So here is the actual name of the account up here. You can see there the actual name of the account, and this is the calculated statement balance. It's 0, closing balance, which is kind of irrelevant at the moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in a date range. So I'm going to come here and put in 31st of the 10th, 2011. And I'm tabbing through, and once I've done that, all the transactions that have occurred during the period will come up. Now, I'll highlight to you, because you perhaps haven't noticed in the past, these are grey because you can't go in and change them or delete them. You have to go in and change the transaction that happened after them, which is the payment of the superannuation liability and the payment of the ATO liability for these particular ones. So I can't just go in and edit those because they're grey. That's just highlighting an extra point there for you. So what I'm going to do is what I would do is over on the right-hand side, I would put in what the balance is. I'm not sure what the balance is, but I'm just going to put in $5,000. And I would then look at my bank statement, and I would say, my bank statement, yes, I can see a cash injection. Yes, I can see that Telstra payment. Yes, I can see that payroll payment. And so I would go through my bank statement. I may come down here and click on bank entry, and I can put in bank charges, or I can put in interest earned, and I could record that directly in there. So maybe I'll go in and put bank charges. I don't know if I've got bank charges in. I might not have that in. Probably don't. So it's down in 6s. Oh, I do. Bank charges. Okay, so I've got bank charges, and then I can put in some interest earned. And if I just click on that, I don't have any interest earned there. Maybe down here, no, I don't have any bank interest. So I would just create a new one. This time I'll just allocate it to fitness accessories, $5, and I'll have that coming in 31st of the 10th. Now watch when I record that. Okay, watch there. What's going to happen? I'm going to record, and they both appeared, and they both appeared reconciled when they actually came in. So that's just a nifty little thing to know about. And I would say, like, if we were working in a real balance, we would go, the bank statement says, this is what it says. We've reconciled because the goal is an out of balance of 0. We've reconciled, and we can then click on reconcile here. And when I click on this reconcile option, I get the option to print my report or reconcile it. And I would print the report before I do that, and then I am in the opportunity. I have the opportunity to go back in. It's kind of weird. So I print it, it stops, and then I have to go back in and I click reconcile, and it processes through. Okay, so that's how, just a quick way, how you go in and reconcile your accounts. You should be reconciling your accounts on a regular basis, weekly, daily, weekly, or monthly, but as soon as you can. What I also want to highlight to you, a few things. If I click on my account list, I want to highlight that you can actually combine accounts. So I'm just going to pop over into my income account, and I could say here I have, I don't have the account, 1410. I've got here equipment income, and I might go, I've got fitness equipment here, okay, and I don't want to have both of them. So what I do is I have this one, I click on combine accounts, and then the secondary one for fitness equipment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine them. Any transaction that's on here will go into here, my primary account. I will not be able to undo this. Okay, so I'm happy, combine account. Okay, yes, I'm happy for that to combine, and that's worked out well for me. Now, the other thing I want to highlight that you may have realized as we were going along, I have used header accounts. So you can see this is a header account, and then underneath it I have these 4 detail accounts. Notice that this one isn't underneath it, and notice that this one isn't underneath it. So in fact, it might be easier if I use this pen. These subtotal into that, but these don't. And that is useful. So what I can show you, so see if I click on this equipment income and I actually come down to this button here and click up, watch what's going to happen to this 43.55. If I click up, it's now become 0 because none of them are now grouped under inventory income. So I'm now going to click on down, and I actually have to go through and click on all of them. And they're now grouped under there. So the reason I do that is so I have groupings, and so when I look at my reports, I can look at them and just see inventory income and the grouping of inventory income rather than all the detail there, which is useful for in terms of management information, giving me the information so I can better run my business. So we've come to the end of Day 7, covered all what we had intended to cover in the book, Learn MYOB in 7 Days. Thank you for listening in.